Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to prep any surface that you're going to be repainting. Today we're going to repaint this piece of furniture that we inherited for my daughter's room, and instead of white we want to do a yellow color. But we mainly want to do it because it's pretty beat up and it was painted with a paintbrush, and so if you can see, there's some rough paintbrush lines in here, and we want it to have a smoother surface. So we're going to be sanding it down, but there's a few steps that you need to do before you actually do that. We want to test it for lead. We don't know how old it was when it was repainted. We don't know if it was painted with a lead-based paint, and we don't want to be breathing in those dust particles. So we're going to be using this this testing kit for lead from 3M, and it's really simple to use. If you're doing a different kind of surface, like a metal or vinyl or plastic surface, they may also have lead components in it, and so there are different ways that you're going to test for lead on those surfaces. So you'll want to look in the instructions and make sure that you're using the right process for the right material. So this is how you test for a painted surface. We're going to take a knife and make a small notch, 1/4 inch in size, out of an inconspicuous area on your piece of material, so that you can test all the different paint layers. We don't know how many different paint layers are on this this vanity, and so we're going to test the different layers. So you just take a little notch, take your knife and make a little notch in the wood here, and about 1/4 inch in size. And we won't worry about that because that will be able to be sanded down and refinished later in the process. So then you're going to take your lead swab, and inside there are 2 different tubes that contain chemicals, and we're going to want to mix those chemicals together. And so right here it says to press point A and press point B. We're just going to crush that right there and get those 2 chemicals mixing together. And then you're going to kind of shake it up, and it's a yellow material, and you just squeeze lightly and just start rubbing that swab in here in the different, to get it all into the different paint layers there. And gently squeeze a little bit so you get a little bit more of that chemical out. And you can see how the chemical's yellow there, and this cotton will start to turn pink or red if there is lead in your paint. And we want to make sure that the chemical is working properly, so we have this little test strip down here, and this test strip actually does have lead in those little circles, so you want to be careful with that. But we're going to squeeze a little bit of this chemical, this yellow chemical, onto one of these circles here, but we don't want to touch the cotton tip to the circle, so we're just going to squeeze that a little bit right here onto the surface. Okay. And then I'm just going to take this and just kind of put that around. And if this dot turns red, then you're going to know that your lead test worked properly. Okay? So see how here on my cotton swab that it's not turning pink or red? Then that means that there's no lead present in this paint. So it's okay for us to sand it down. Okay, now that you've done that, the next step that you're going to want to do to prep your furniture is to remove all of the hardware. And the hardware, you know, it's just simple, just a screwdriver, just to remove the pieces here. We're also going to be removing this mirror because it'll be easier to paint without the mirror on. That will probably be the only thing that we need to take off of this piece of furniture to refinish it. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sand it down. There's a lot of different types of sandpaper out there, a lot of different levels and grits of sandpaper, and if you have a really bad surface that's got lots of dings and gouges out of it, you'll probably want to use a coarse sandpaper. But this one's fairly nice. We just want to get a smoother surface and to rough off some of the gouges that are in it. So we're going to go ahead and use this 120 medium grit paper. And the easiest way is to use one of these hand sanders. You can use a sanding block, but for these larger surface areas, I'm going to be using a hand sander, and here on the sides. And your sandpaper comes in sheets, and so the easiest way that I found to fit a sheet, one of these, onto your hand sander is just to take your sandpaper and fold it in half, and then I just take a knife and I just hold my sandpaper like this and just slice through it. That way you don't use your scissors and dull your scissors. And then you're going to cut it into fourths. Using that same process. And then you just slice through that. Okay? And then you're going to take one, we've already done, take your sanding block, your sander, and then pop up the two grit pieces, and then hold your paper in and do that for the other side. Make sure it's tight and attach it, and then you've got your sandpaper attached to your sander. And then we wouldn't actually do this in the house, but I was too lazy to carry this thing downstairs today. So when I actually do it, I'm going to be outside in my garage doing it, because the hand sander will create a really fine dust in your house, and you don't want to have to deal with that. So then I'll go ahead and I'll sand all the surfaces down, but you want to make sure that when you're doing that, you still use your precautions and put in your earplugs, because you don't want your hearing to go bad, and to wear one of these masks so you're not breathing in that fine dust. And it's always a good idea to wear your safety goggles so that no dust pieces get into your eyes. Okay, when you're done sanding, your furniture is going to be covered by a lot of fine dust, and so you just want to take a damp cloth and just wipe all the surfaces down, because the cleaner that is, the cleaner your paint's going to go on. And so you just want to remove all of that dust off the surface of your furniture. Then, this is the most important part, I think. Sanding and the taping is one of the most important parts of making sure you have a nice finished product. You're going to take your Scotch Blue tape and you're going to tape off any areas that you don't want paint on. This is a perfect example of where I would want my tape. You can see if the previous person didn't tape it and there's actually paint on the inside of the mirror. You can clean that up with a razor blade. In fact, I'll do that. I'll go through and clean that up so I have a nice clean edge. And then I'll wipe all this off. I'll clean the mirror. And then I'll put the tape on so that I get a nice, clean, crisp edge around that mirror. And if there's any hardware that you're not able to remove, then you can also tape around that so that you don't get any paint on those areas. And it'll give you a nice finished product. And I will show you the next phase of the product in pictures. So thanks.